Hello everyone. Uh, this is Professor Kishore Kumar, Assistant Professor from Government First Grade College, Vijayanagar, Bangalore. Welcome you all to this session. Today we will be discussing about kinds of companies, types of companies in India. That is what we will be discussing for today. Okay. Hope you all are good, healthy, happy, and safe. So let's have a look at the types of companies available in India. So first, there are different bases on which the companies are divided. Like based on investment of funds, the companies are divided into MSME, large scale and small scale. MSME is like your micro, small and medium enterprises, and large scale enterprises. So that is based on your investment, how much money you have invested. We also have small scale industries, village industries, cottage industries, right? This is also based on the investment. Sometimes we take investment as a base to differentiate between or segregate companies into different categories. We also take number of employees or technology used for manufacturing the product or delivering the services, like human resource. That is also one of the say base for differentiating companies. And also we take the capital investment, how much money is invested in it. That is also one of the base. So there are different ways in which we segregate companies, and here also we have tried to segregate companies based on whether they are registered or not registered under Companies Act. Okay, here we are taking Companies Act of 2013 or the Companies Act which was prevailing before 2013 Act. There were major changes made to Companies Act in the year 2013. But before that, there were Companies Act, like from 1956, there are Companies Act. Even during the Britishers era, there was a Companies Act. But again, those were changed. There were modifications, amendments to this Companies Act of British era, and major change was done in 2013 and new act was brought into. So we are taking this as a base, Companies Act as a base to differentiate companies. Okay. So here we are trying to differentiate companies into two categories. One is incorporated and another one is unincorporated. So basically here we are trying to segregate based on whether the company is incorporated as per the rules and regulations mentioned in the Companies Act. Okay. So these incorporated companies, these are brought into existence as per the rules and regulations mentioned in the Companies Act of 2013 or Act which was existing before 2013. And unincorporated companies, those are not brought into existence as per the Companies Act, or they are registered under some other acts. Okay, like partnership company, it is registered under Partnership Act. Likewise, societies, cooperative societies are registered under Societies Act. Likewise, trust is registered under Trust Act. There is a Hindu undivided family businesses. There are sole trading businesses, right? So these are unincorporated in the sense they are not brought into existence as per the company's rules and regulations framed in the Companies Act. So these incorporated companies are brought into existence as per Companies Act rules and regulations. So what are those? Let's have a look at the more formal, which are registered as per the Companies Act. These all companies are governed by Companies Act. They have to perform their business as per the Companies Act. They have to adhere to the rules and regulations mentioned in the Companies Act. So let's have a look at these types. So here there are three categories. One is statutory companies, registered companies, and chartered companies. This is the major base for differentiation. Now, statutory companies are companies which are brought by state governments, central government, or any other local government by passing an act in the in this session. Like for example, BSNL. BSNL is brought into effect by Government of India by passing an act in the Parliament. Likewise, Reserve Bank of India. It was a special act was passed, that is statute is an act which is passed and then it became a law. After passing this act, it became a law and now company brought into existence like Reserve Bank of India. Another example is SEBI, Securities Exchange Board of India, Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India. So all these are formed by passing special rules and regulations, or a special act was passed in the Parliament and these came into effect with special powers. These were brought because of a single purpose which was defined by the government. Like NABARD, National Agriculture Rural Development Bank of India, was brought by passing a special act. Likewise, IDBI, Industrial Development Bank of India, was started by passing a special act by Government of India. In Karnataka, we have BESCOM, okay, Bangalore Electricity Supply Company, okay, BESCOM. Then we have BWSSB. Okay, these are government entities of Karnataka. Okay. We also have Food and Civil Supplies Corporation in Karnataka. So these are all brought by Karnataka government. So they passed an act in the session, and that after passing that act, it became a law, and a new company was brought into existence for a particular purpose, or say with an objective, single objective of serving the society or carrying out the objectives of governments. So these are statutory here because it has come due to the passing of an act. Government of a particular government of India or government of state or any government law. Now, how to implement this law? So for that purpose, they have made a administrative body. So each state have a registrar of companies. And all the companies which are incorporating as per Companies Act compulsory have to register their name with the registrar of companies in the state in which they are incorporating. Okay. In the state which they are incorporating, they have to register. Just like when you want to take your admission in the college, you have to go and register your name. Likewise, if I want to start a business in Karnataka, I have to register my name with the registrar of companies, and then he will issue me incorporation certificate. So all those companies registered with a registrar of companies are called as registered companies. All of these are coming under companies. Next is your chartered companies. Chartered companies are basically like East India Company. Kings and queens, they formed a special charter was passed and signed by kings and queens, and special powers were given to these companies to carry out the objectives of a country, or carry out to achieve the objectives of a king or queen. Okay. So the best examples is your East India Company, Queen of England. Okay, they passed a charter and company was brought into existence. So maybe it is like you can call it East India Company. We also had other foreigners in India, like Portuguese. They had their own company incorporated or chartered by their king, right? Portuguese kings. So these are special charter was prepared, basically chartered in the sense rules and regulations, objectives of that company, and it is signed by king or queen, giving the special power to that particular company. So these are all incorporated under some law. Okay, incorporated by some law, they have came into existence. Now, registered companies are registered under Companies Act. Okay, those are divided into different categories. So let's have a look at that. One is your companies limited by shares. Here in the word says limited and shares. So in this company, the capital is invested by the shareholder. And how much the shareholder will invest in money? The money invested is equivalent to amount of shares he has bought. Okay. So it is equal to the amount of shares he has bought. So much capital an individual person will invest. And his liability is limited. Limited in the sense, if something wrong happens to this company and company is into losses, and during the closure, they have to pay the debt. Okay, all the loan has to be paid. Now, company doesn't have assets, from where the company will pay? So generally what happens? Who should pay? Owner should pay. Now, who are the owners in shareholding? Shareholders are the owners. So shareholders have to pay the debts. For example, I am a shareholder in Infosys. If Infosys makes any losses, then if Infosys, God forbid, should not happen. If Infosys is getting closed and it has some huge loans which has to be paid, they don't have any profit, all the loans have to be paid, then who has to pay all the loans? The company doesn't have any assets. Shareholders, because they are the owners. Now I am sitting in my native place Bidar, something happened to company in Bangalore and notice is coming to my house. Right? Not correct. So that is why it is called as company limited by share. I am a shareholder and I am liable to pay only the amount to the extent of shares, amount of shares I have purchased. Like I have purchased 2 shares, 2000 rupees, my liability is 2000 rupees. I will pay 2000 rupees, my liability is 10. That is why it is called as limited liability. So companies limited by shares. Like 1 lakh rupees is the capital which is invested. All this 1 lakh is divided into shares. Shares can be 1 rupee share, 10 rupee share or 100 rupee share. So divide 1 lakh capital into number of shares. So 1 lakh divided by 10 rupee share, 10 rupees per share. So 1000, say 10,000 shares. So 10,000 shares are sold to all the shareholders. Shareholders will purchase those shares, become member in the company. Now they are the owners or shareholders of the company, but their liability is limited. Now there are 2 types here. One is private and another one is public. Private in the sense, here general public has not purchased or invested in the shares. Shares, general public are not invited. Only limited members, private people come and invest in this company. Public, it is open for anyone. Anyone can become a shareholder of the company. For example, Infosys, you and me both can purchase the shares and become a shareholder of this Infosys company. That is public, general public. But I cannot purchase shares of Flipkart. I cannot purchase. Flipkart is a private company. General public is not invited. They will only, all the board members and existing shareholders will decide to whom shares to be issued. They only issue these shares. They have complete power to decide whom to invite for shareholding. So they will not allow or invite general public. Like if they are raising funds, they are giving their shares to venture capitalists. So venture capitalists will invest and take the shares. So that is why it is called as private. Next is your company limited by guarantee. So here limited by shares, here it is limited by guarantee. In limited by guarantee, it is also a shareholding company. But what happens here in this case is, in the shareholding, if I purchase 2 shares, 2000 rupees, my limited liability is limited to extent of 2000. But in guarantee, there is one more additional step. Here, all the shareholders in advance are agreeing to pay certain amount. They are guaranteeing, they are giving a guarantee to the company, saying that if there are any losses and company is getting closed and debt have to be paid, then I will pay X amount in addition to amount of shares I am purchasing. So I can say I will pay 50,000 rupees. So I am giving guarantee to the company that if there are losses, then I will pay 50,000 during settlement. So this is called as company limited by guarantee. I am using again here, the word used here is limited. So liability is limited to the extent of shares, amount of shares, plus the guarantee given by each shareholder. Next is unlimited. Here, the liability of shareholders or owners is unlimited. So if you are a member of such company and you are sitting anywhere in India, if company gets into losses, then during settlement, registrar of companies or courts can issue an order and your entire property can be seized. Amount can be collected from you, not in the you in the sense not you, but the shareholders. So here, all the shareholders' liability is unlimited. Their liability is unlimited to the extent all the dues are settled. Okay. So in all the three, we have private and public. Public, I told you, if general public has purchased shares, it is a public company. Private company, they have not invited public. Only some private people, which are decided in advance, only those people take the shares in that company. Okay. So private company, public company, remember this. Next is your listed and unlisted companies. Any company which is registered under Companies Act and listed on stock exchange, where shares are bought and sold by individuals, is called as a listed company. Simple. Listed company is registered or listed its shares on stock exchange for buying and selling of general public. Unlisted company is a company which has not listed its shares on any stock exchange. General public cannot purchase and sell shares of unlisted companies on any stock exchanges. Next is one-person company. Here, in one-person company, majority shares are held by a single person, and minority, only nominal shares are given to another person, that is second person. So 99.99 shares are held by one person and only 0.1% shares are given to another. That is called as nominal shareholder. So by default, here there is an agreement between these two shareholders saying that you just become a nominal member. Because as per Companies Act, there should be minimum 2 members when you want to register a company, private company, at least 2 members. Public company, at least 5 members. Okay, I will come to that. Public company, private company. So private limited, minimum 2 companies, 2 people should be there, and public company, if you want to form, minimum 5 people should be there. So when you want to form a one-person company, here what you are doing is majority of shares are with you. You are the majority stakeholder, and there is an agreement between another person. You have told him clearly, just for the sake of rules and regulations, you are giving him 1 share. Okay, so he just a nominal member of that company. So 1 person company. Next is under Section 8 Companies Act. Section 8 companies called as charitable trusts or NGOs. Okay, whose objective is to promote art, music, culture, right, or some social service. Their objective is not to make the profit. Their objective is to promote these aspects, promote their objectives like music, say dance academy, say some NGOs which are related to like orphanage or old age homes, right? Environmental NGOs, etc., etc. So they are registered as per Companies Act, but they have no business of making profits. Okay, the objective is not to make profit, but to serve the society. So these are some of the companies which are registered under Companies Act, Companies Act of 2013. So let's go and try to break it down and try to make it more simpler to understand. From the understanding point of view, so I already told you people what is statutory company. Okay, what is statutory company? I have told you people. Next is your registered company. We discussed. In registered, we have discussed company limited by share, company limited by guarantee, and unlimited company. Okay. So here we can also talk the companies in terms of private company and public company. I told you, if you want to form a private limited company, here minimum 2 members, should be there, and 2 directors. Minimum 2 directors and minimum 2 members to form this private company, and always use private limited in the name. Compulsory, it is compulsory to use private limited. In public limited, minimum 5 members and 3 directors. It should have minimum 5. If you want to form a public limited company, you should have minimum 5 members and 3 directors. Then only you are allowed to register your company as a public limited. Capital for private limited company, minimum 1 lakh. You should have minimum 1 lakh rupees if you want to start a private limited company. Public limited also, you should have minimum 1 lakh, and there is no limit. There is no upper limit. Okay. There is no upper limit. So these are public limited and private limited. Next is your government company. Here government in the company, government companies, majority stake, that is 51% is held by government. 51% of shares are held by government. So by default, government is the owner, majority stakeholder. That is why these are called as government companies. These are found as government companies like State Bank of India. Government is also the State Bank of India is a public limited company. It was a government company. So BSNL, Bharat Sanchar Nigam Limited, it is. So you can also purchase BSNL shares, but BSNL majority stakeholders are government, right? Next is uh, Dursanchar Nigam Limited, and there is one more company like petroleum companies, all the petroleum companies. You can say Indian Oil Corporation or Bharat Petroleum. All these are government companies because 51% shares are held by government in these companies. Next is your say holding company. So in holding company, basically, we can say like this. There is a subsidiary company. In this subsidiary company, this holding company has majority stakes. I'm using here word majority, not 51%. Majority in the sense if there are 50 people, holding company should have highest shares. Okay, compared to all the members of the company, holding company should have highest amount of shares. In which? In subsidiary company. So there is a holding company and there is a subsidiary company. In subsidiary company, this holding company should have majority shares. Majority in the sense highest amount of shares compared to all other shareholders. Next is your foreign company. Okay. Foreign company is a company which is incorporated outside India. For example, Amazon incorporated in US. Okay. But they are doing business in India. No, Amazon. Such company is called as a foreign company because they are incorporated in another country. They are doing business in India, but before doing business, they have to register with a registrar of companies in India within 180 days. That is within 6 months, they have to register with the registrar of companies in India, any state, but they have to register in one place at least. Then only they are permitted to do business in India. They are incorporated in foreign as per their Companies Act, but when they want to come to India and do business, what they have to do? They have to register with registrar of companies. Okay. So this is foreign company. One man company we have discussed already. One person company where he is holding 99.99% of shares with one person. Generally, what happens? We can refer this as also a family company because many of the times you don't want outsiders to involve in your company. You may ask your dad or your wife to buy only one share, become a nominal member, but all the major decisions are taken by you single-handedly because you are the majority stakeholder in the company. So this is your one-person company. Next is say small company. Okay, based on the investment and based on the investment Small company is one where paid-up capital is less than 5 lakhs. Okay. Here, the paid-up capital is, sorry, it's not paid-up capital doesn't exceed 50 lakhs. Okay. Such companies, the capital investment in this company is should be less than 50 lakhs. The investment should not exceed 50 lakhs. I am talking about investment. I am not talking about the revenue of the company. In revenue terms, the company revenue should be less than the revenue of the company should not be more than 25 CR. Okay, so 25 CR is the revenue of the. Okay, so it should not exceed 25 CR, right? So this is the small company. Next is done with small company, done with one person company. Next is dormant company. Dormant company. Company which has not done any transactions in last 2 financial years. Okay. Any registered company which has not done any financial transactions other than statutory requirements, like you have paid some tax, you have paid some rent, you have paid professional tax, etc., etc. Other than the tax expenditure, if the company has not done any financial transactions in the past 2 years, such company is called as a dormant company. Registrar of companies will segregate and keep this company in the list of dormant companies. Or company itself can go to registrar of companies and tell that please keep us under dormant company status. Okay, that is one more company type. Next is your global company. Global company and MNC. Okay. Global company and multinational company. Global company, basically, they have manufacturing facilities across globe. They adopt to local market. They adopt their advertising to local market. They adopt their products also as per the local market requirements. That is called as global company. On the other hand, multinational companies, they are also selling their products and services across globe, but their manufacturing facility is located in only few countries. That is why it is called as multinational. So manufacturing facilities located into few places. They are not adopting their marketing, advertising and product and services to the local market. They are selling standardized product across globe. There are no changes to the products or services what they are offering. But yes, they may manufacture in multiple countries, but product is same. On the other hand, global companies, they are also manufacturing in other countries locally, but they are adopting their marketing strategies, products and services as per the local requirements. For example, if you go to McDonald's and Pizza Hut in US, you will get only non-veg. All McDonald's products in abroad, that is in US, is only non-veg. But in India, if you go to McDonald's, you will find all the vegetarian varieties. Likewise, in Pizza Hut, if you go to US Pizza Hut, you get only non-veg pizza. But in India, if you go to Pizza Hut, you will get all the local vegetarian options. So what Pizza Hut did, when they entered in India, they didn't do this thought process of Indians. So they started with only non-veg options. There was no sale or less sale, I can say. But when they adopted locally, now see how they are doing the business. Huge sales. So they have adopted locally. But Pepsi, you drink Pepsi in India, you drink Pepsi in China, Dubai, or US, Pepsi is Pepsi anyway, same taste. They are manufacturing locally, but their product is standardized. No changes. Okay, Pepsi, Thumbs Up, Coke, all these are standardized products. They are not adopting to local market. If you drink Diet Coke in India and Diet Coke in US, taste is same. No changes. Okay, so they are multinational company. Coke, Pepsi, Thumbs Up, all these are multinational company for standardized products, no local adaptation, but global company, local adaptation has been required. So this is, and the last one is charitable companies I told you people. Okay. For charitable purposes or promoting art, culture and science. Okay. So this is all about the registered companies which are registered under Companies Act. Let's go to unregistered companies. What happens with these is registered companies is there are so many rules and regulations which you, if you want to become an entrepreneur and start any of these types, there are so many rules and regulations you have to adhere to. You have to prepare your balance sheet, you have to prepare your financial statements. Every quarterly, you have to file it to the registrar of company. Every yearly, you have to file the annual returns. If you don't file it for 2 years, there are punishments. Auditors can come anytime and check your company statements, etc., etc., etc. There is too much intervention from the government side. And also you from your end have to adhere to all the rules and regulations. There are stringent punishments. It can go to an extent of, you see what happened to Vijay Mallya and Modi and all. They may be sitting somewhere in other countries, but yes, there are cases filed. They have to run away from they have to leave country and settle in other countries. Okay, so there are stringent actions under Companies Act. Okay. Everything can be, your entire property can be seized. Okay. If you can read Sahara case, what happened to Sahara Industries. Okay. So one single project in a Maharashtra, and there was so much controversy around that. An entire Sahara group crashed. The promoters were in jail. Okay, so there are stringent rules and regulations. So what are other options what you people can get into? You can start a sole trading. What is the sole trading here? Single person can start the company, can close anytime he wants. He is not sharing the profit and also he is not sharing any risk. And there is only limited intervention of government, no much intervention. If there is any local permission is required, you take the local permission and license to start the business. Investment is also very little. So there is no rule like you should have 2 people or you should have 5 people, 2 directors, nothing. Single-handedly, single person, you can start. Like you want to start the restaurant, single person, you can start the restaurant. But advantages, no government intervention, no profit sharing. But there are disadvantages. Like capital is less, you may not get loans, decision making is a slow process, you may not have management to take the strategy, to make strategic planning. Okay, limited. Also, you are not sharing risk. Okay, so sometimes it may lead into closure. Then you can start partnership. Minimum 2 people are required to form a partnership. 2, 4, 5 friends, family, okay, neighbors, you can become partners and register your company under Partnership Act. Here, partnership company is registered under Partnership Act. So you just have to prepare a partnership deed, in which partnership deed is nothing but an agreement where you mention all the rules and regulations, how the relationship is between the partners, how the investment pattern is, how the profit sharing pattern is. Okay, what are the rules and regulations, appointment, dissolution, etc., etc. You mention that agreement, you register that agreement, and you register your company under Partnership Act. So what happens here? Some of the disadvantages of partnership, sole trading are overcome here. What is happening here? Capital is increasing. You can make like-minded people with management thoughts, management knowledge, and strategic planning capacities. Such people can join, come together, and form the company. Here you are sharing your risk also, and other side you are here, you are sharing your profits. And sometimes if there is clash between partners, one single partner if exit from the company, entire company has to be closed. Okay. So this is your partnership company. Next is your HUF, Hindu Undivided Family Businesses. Okay, Hindu Undivided Family Businesses. These were very, very popular. You can see Rajasthani people doing businesses. You can see Gujarati people. You can see Jain Marwadi people. They are running huge family businesses. Huge family businesses. Okay, like there are some masala companies which are run by family. Okay, there are like Haldiram's, family business. Okay, you take this Mayas, it's a family business actually. You take Kanti Sweets, family business. Okay, then there is one sweet company which is located in Jayanagar. If you come to Jayanagar, there is a sweet this one, Mishra Sweets. It's a family business. Dharwad Peda, very, very famous in India, geographical location. Family business, okay? So, Hindu undivided family businesses. Here, there is one person is a Karta and all other family members are partners in this company. They also have the shares in the company. Profit is shared, responsibilities are shared, investment is also shared. Okay? So, little bit of these. If one person dies here or exit from this, it will not close. There is a succession. New people will join, old people will resign. Okay, so this will continue forever. The life is more here. So, Hindu undivided family businesses. Another thing is your cooperative society. Cooperative society and trust. So, cooperative societies, what is happening here? Like-minded people come together, invest some money and form the cooperative society. Like you have agriculture cooperatives, district credit cooperatives, housing cooperative societies. What happens? Whenever we wanted to start this cooperative society, we invite people to come and invest. Like sugar industry. If there is a sugar factory near you, it is a cooperative society. All the agriculture farmers, they will invest and purchase 1 or 2 shares in this cooperative industry. Right? Now only those members, those people are the members of that cooperative society. Shares cannot be transferred to other person. Okay? And only those people are allowed to take credit from that cooperative society and also keep deposit with that particular cooperative society. So it is limited only for the members. All the services are available only for the members of that cooperative society. And it is governed by Cooperative Societies Act. So one single person if exit from that cooperative society, it will not lead to closure. But there is a intervention of government using Cooperative Societies Act. Okay. Here you are sharing profit and also you are sharing the risk. But advantage is you can scale up the business and also you can generate more capital because you may have 500 to 1000 members in the cooperative society. Next is your trust. Here you can form a company and register it as a trust. Limit under Trust Act. Okay. So if you register your company under Trust Act, very limited intervention by government, but also some of the disadvantages of sole trading are also applicable to trust. Okay. In cooperative societies, you have to maintain your books of accounts. From Cooperative Societies Act, as per Cooperative Societies Act, people can come and inspect your books of accounts. But in case of trust, no other person from outside can come and check your books of accounts. It is not allowed. But again, as per Trust Act, you have to maintain the books of account and produce in front of the court whenever it is asked, if there is any controversy. Okay. But here, again, there is a problem of taxation. Still, very limited intervention. You can share your profit with the trust members. You can have more capital. You can expand your business to a larger extent. So those are some of the advantages of trust. So these are, and to mention here for you people as a beginners, you can also go for private limited or one person company. Private limited, I told you people, 2 members can come together, register your company with the registrar of companies, incorporate it as per Companies Act of 2013, invest 1 lakh rupees minimum and start your company, private limited company. Or you can take 1 person as a nominal partner, member of the company, give only 1 share. You have 99.99% of shares and run your business here in private limited company or 1 person company. There is more control by government, but you can expand your business to unlimited area. You can scale up your business. You can generate more capital. You can borrow funds from government. You can borrow funds from banks. You can borrow funds from venture capital. But here all, there is very limited support from government. Very limited financial support from government. But here, from private limited, 1 person or etc., there is more support from government. One more type of business what you can go get into is franchising. Franchising, in which we have product franchising or process franchising. What happens in franchising? This is the last point. What happens in franchising is, there is one company which has established its business, created brand and making profit. It is accepted by the customers, accepted by consumers, and established a very good image in the market. Now it is inviting franchises. Interested people can approach and apply, take their franchisee and pay upfront amount or fees. We call it as licensing fees or franchisee fees. There is a one-time fee, and again there is successive fee based on your sales or based on your profit. You have to share. Okay, so there is a franchisee fees what you people have to pay and take the franchisee and run the business. Why you have to pay the fees? Because this franchisee is giving you all the support. They are giving you equipments, they are giving you training your people, they are also taking care of marketing, they are also taking care of advertising, etc., etc. You only have to run the business. And because of their image already existing in the market, what you are doing? You are milking the cow basically. Okay. They have taken all the efforts to establish their business, and what you are doing now? You are using their name and running your businesses. So all the Pizza Hut is done. Pizza Hut is a franchising model. Many of the schools in Bangalore, what you see, all these kindergarten schools like Kidsy and all, those are all running on franchising business. Recently, I happened to visit Pune. I saw Evle Chaha is a franchising business. Evle, he started one chai business. It was very, very popular. That name became very popular, but he cannot expand because he doesn't have resources. He invited other interested people. They came, paid money to Evle owner. Evle is supplying all the tea, coffee, etc. And it has also given the formula. Now that is, they are producing and selling and paying fees to Evle owners. Likewise, product franchising. Hindustan Coca-Cola Company has given product franchising. Franchising in the sense they have given permission to produce the product and give it back to the company. Okay. Parle company has given product franchising. This franchisee has to manufacture Parle products as per the formula and pack it and give it to Parle company, and Parle will sell. Sometimes what happens, they are given permission to produce and sell. In process franchising, basically, here they are giving permission to do the business as per the process set up by the franchisor. The franchisee has to do the business as per the process. So here they have given permission to all the franchisees to copy their process of manufacturing or process of service and sell it to the consumers. So here process is copied by others, and the product can be manufactured and sold by the franchisee. So the person who is giving franchisee or inviting people to become franchisee is called as a franchisor, and the fee paid is called as franchisee fee. Okay. So these are all different types of companies which can be started by an individual entrepreneur whenever he wants to get into business and start his own enterprise. So these are all the options available. You can go for registered or you can go for unregistered companies which are available for you people at Liberty. It's left to you alone to see what all resources you have, what is your capacity, what are your interests, what after doing your SWOT analysis, okay, then decide what type of company to start and get into business. Okay, so thank you very much for joining today's session. Take care. Have a great day. Thank you.